you can get a cookie anywhere. This is about way more than a cookie. And just the experience when people come in, the looks on their faces, the laughter because of all of the silly things that we do and the silly names and the stories that we tell, that's what it's more about.
Welcome to Superpower with Kristine Milkovich, the podcast where we help you unleash your inner hero. Whether you're a change maker, a trailblazer, or just looking to level up, this is the space to uncover your unique superpower and transform it into unstoppable momentum. Join me as we dive deep with inspiring guests, sharing their game-changing insights, empowering us all to be the hero of our own stories. Get ready to embrace your deepest purpose, own your power, and change the world one bold move at a time. Welcome to today's episode. Who doesn't love a warm, gooey, interesting, complicated cookie, right? Well, you will want to tune in. We've got two very special guests, the creators, the owners, and the entrepreneurial spirits of Get Baked Seattle. Get Baked is a bakery cookie shop on the world famous hill climb in Pike Place Market, right near the waterfront marina. These two individuals not only are partners in life, but partners in business. Their journey together and their creative spirit is taking the cookie industry by storm, and they've got such a beautiful, fun story to tell. I know you're going to have a blast with this episode. Hello, good morning, everybody out there tuning into Superpower today. We have some delicious, delightful guests on this morning. So exciting. I love being a Seattle local. Not only when I discover and find brands that I want to get behind, purchase their product, promote them, and enjoy, all for selfish reasons, particularly in this case, because it is such a delightful, yummy product that they're producing, but getting to know community and the faces and the names and the humans and the stories behind these incredible local brands. So we've got a really special 45-minute episode for you here today, and we're just going to get right to it. So we're going to welcome to the show the owners of the bakery and the Seattle baked goods company called Get Baked. And we have here in the studio today, Greg and Keri Hayes. Welcome to the show.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
You're welcome.
Great to be here.
Well, we're just so honored to have you. So, as I shared, Greg, we're so delighted that you're both here because I know you both conceived and thought up and masterminded this wonderful product that you're putting out into the world and this concept. And we're going to get to all of that in a minute. But just last night, I was texting Keri, and even last week when I was in your shop and kind of solidifying this opportunity amongst the three of us, is, Superpower is about just having a conversation. There's lots of podcasts out there and so many great ones and conversational platforms, but we're just dropping our shoulders here. We're really just talking as three local Seattle community members, folks that have created and ran businesses and trying to get up every day and figure it out with the wins and the fails, which I can serve up a spoonful of those for sure. But we really are just here to get to know you both and learn about your story. And at the end of the day, the tagline and the namesake of this show is Superpower. And we're just going to kind of dive in and uncover a couple of the discoveries that you've had as a collective and as a brand creator around your superpower. So that being said, I looked at your website again. Of course, I do a little bit of extra self-study being the curator of this interview and getting my ducks in a row. And, before we get to your TV spot on HSN cable, and I think there's some exciting news, and if it's not public knowledge yet, you will derail that conversation. But I was just in your shop and heard about some really cool things happening at your company. But before we go there, we do like to take a little bit of a journey back for those that have not been to your brick and mortar, your actual bakery shop in Pike Place Market on the world famous hill climb that is right there that meets Western and the aquarium. I also just that area is so special and unique. For one, of course, it attracts loads of tourism. But like myself, I'm a local. I actually own a condo in the Fix Medor, the building that we share with you, Keri and Greg. So I've lived and loved in your actual company building. So to know that there's this immense company brewing and growing right there at the hill climb is fantastic. But take us a little bit back. Have you always been bakers? Have you always been brand curators, bringing up a brand like this, from floor up? Tell us a little bit about your initial background and where you both hail from and how you got to Seattle. Let's just start with that.
All right, I can start with the baking.
Okay.
I absolutely never baked before, other than, the little brownies in the kitchen. I am from Detroit, born and raised, and I actually have a marketing degree in sports marketing.
Okay.
So this wasn't fitness, the whole thing wasn't on my horizon at all. I was a couch potato. Uh, so I worked for the Detroit Red Wings when I graduated. I had interned there, paid my dues as an intern, and they hired me on. And as much as I loved it, I mean, I loved it. I loved that job.
Mm,
I couldn't make ends meet.
okay.
So I left to go into the automotive marketing.
Ah,
I hated every second.
which is a big world in Detroit, or at least it used to be,
It
right?
is. Yes. So I worked for the ad agency that did Chrysler, and it was fun. You get to see the new cars, but it just wasn't me.
Yeah.
And I was going to the gym there, and I would start going on my lunch hour. My boss was a big, you know, encourager of going to work out. He's like, if you want to go over there at 10 and leave your desk, I'm okay with that. And it was the mailroom guy that told me I was going to lose my job at that company because they were getting a new CEO.
Oh,
And I worked for the CEO. So my trainer's like, why don't you do this? You love this. You found this. You have a passion for it, clearly. And so while I sat at my desk waiting to get laid off, I ordered all my personal training gear and started studying. And
wow.
by the time the layoff came, I was a trainer.
Amazing.
Yeah, so
Wow.
my first job was at Gold's Gym. They would take half your money, and that's when I said nope. So I created my own fitness studio called Pure Fitness, and I was training people in my dining room at 5 in the morning, or we'd go over to another gym that let me train my clients there, and that's how the entrepreneur in me started.
Interesting. So literally just from your boss saying like this is a great thing to do, go stay fit. And and
Yes,
and really from a survivalist standpoint, you saw the impending layoff coming. So the
yes.
rubber was hitting the road.
Yes, I had a 1-year-old, and I said, okay, we can't afford to be, unemployed.
Mm,
But it was the best thing. You think it's a tragedy, and it turned out to be a blessing because
right.
when I moved to Ohio, that's when I met Greg, who was also
Mm,
a trainer and had his own studio. So
okay. And did you move to Ohio then for just getting out of the Michigan area? Did you go there for another fitness opportunity or how did you get to Ohio?
I was married at the
Mm,
time, and his job
gotcha.
moved us to Ohio.
Got you.
So again, I was unemployed because I had to pick up and
Yeah.
move. And I had two kids now. I had a little boy who
Mm.
was 2, 3, he was 4 at the time, and he wanted to do karate, and my daughter wanted to do gymnastics. So I found a gymnastics studio, and I said, hey, do you know where I can find a karate studio for my son? And she said, oh, yeah, just right downstairs at PickFit. They do karate. So I walked in, and that's where Greg was standing.
Oh, I love it. Isn't that something? One door shuts and feels
Yeah.
tragic and scary and lonely at the time. And here you walked into meeting your future husband. That's
Yeah,
so
he was
cool.
not happy to see me because he was hoping I was a client and I was looking for the karate guy.
Oops. Well,
For sure.
sounds like you eventually made it into his department one way or another.
We did, yes.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I love, and I know there's some marketing names that are very Michigan, Detroit, Midwest centric. We'll get to that all in a minute.
Yes.
But of course, I can't help but feeling slightly biased. I am intrigued by your company and you two by your product and your absolute skill and getting to know you both as community members. But I also hail from Detroit. We've made that connection, and it's just fun
Yes.
and cool to meet other Midwesterns and make that historical alignment with just some of the names and stuff that you've used for the cookies. It's absolutely so charming. But let's kind of go back for a minute. So you sort of found your way into the fitness world, which is going to get to part of the product and really marketing behind your cookies in a minute. But Greg, did you have sort of a tenured life or career in fitness when Keri walked in to the business that day? And tell us a little bit about how you started in all of that.
Sure thing. Well, my background is actually in engineering, and I worked for Cisco in Austin at the end of the 90s, beginning of the millennium, and the Cisco that invented the internet.
That
And
one.
being on the inside, we could kind of see the tech boom in Austin kind of going bust. And I was one of those guys that they paid $1,500 to sit there on New Year's Eve, 1999, to make sure the world didn't end, and of course
Right.
it didn't. Uh, and by that time, things were already starting to kind of slow down in the industry, and we could see it from the inside. And by that time, I was going to the gym with a few of my friends from work, and we would go at like 3 o'clock in the morning because that's when we got off, and it was usually the same people there. And me with my little engineering brain, I would just watch the same people all the time. Nothing seemed to change. And back then I was in my late 20s, and I thought that's why we were all at the gym, was to see a change, and nothing was happening. So I thought, well, maybe I can
Mm.
fix it. So I started studying. It's very similar to what Keri said. And within 6 months, I had my first training certification, and I started working with athletes. My very first client was a triathlete, and I was like, well, this is
Mm.
really, really fun, and I can do this because I seem to be good at it. And then a little life-changing tragedy struck, and I got a really bad neck injury playing
Mhm.
football, kind of put things into perspective.
Mm.
And I got into to the rehab side of fitness because there's more than just one way to help somebody get better. You don't necessarily have to beat up athletes all the time. You can actually help fix them. And that changed my entire fitness career. And I went on to do that for, gosh, going on 15 years. When I first met Keri, I was in corporate fitness for a long time. And same thing Keri said, it's like, well, this isn't for me. This isn't, I know I'm better than this and I can do things a different way. So I just did. I opened my very first training studio in 2011, in just outside of, just in Ohio, where we met. And that's kind of when it all started, the whole entrepreneurship thing. It's like building the business from nothing was really, really hard. And then that day that Keri walked
Mhm.
in, just completely by chance, like they say, the best things happen by
Mm.
accident. Electricity,
Right.
penicillin, Keri walking into my life.
Hey, I
It's
like
like
that.
it was that dramatic. And when like she said, when she walked in, I was very grumpy because if you've ever worked with a trainer before, we're not happy people in the middle of the afternoon because we're hungry and cranky from seeing everybody all
Right.
morning. And then when she said why she was here, it's like I just handed her a flyer, and it's like, okay. A couple of days later, she came back in with her resume. I'm a trainer too. I looked at it. I saw Detroit Red Wings, sports marketing. I'm a science guy. I'm not a sales or marketing guy. I thought she could actually help me grow the
Mm.
business. And that's when it started.
Wow. Great alignment. I love that. Just that
Hmm.
perfect fit of like yin and yang, right? I mean, not only I know you share lives and you're a couple, but when you think of starting a brand or any kind of business, that is really some magic when you can kind of fill those holes and help each other, be the experts in unique and specific ways. Well, that's pretty darn sweet. And, I'm all for a dose of romance and encouraging people to see the magic in that. So I'm so grateful that you shared just a little bit about just how you two met, and thank you for being vulnerable and personal and open about some of the ups and downs that came, before and during that courtship, certainly with divorce and being single mamas and accidents and health concerns. That's all real stuff. And it's so inspiring to hear people share those background, things that happen to us, that we persevere and we work towards, finding a way out, right? And into the next thing. So I think you both just really illustrated that in your own personal lives. Now, how did you then before we really get into your company Get Baked, how did you
Mm.
find your way then out to Seattle? What did that look like?
Well, I came here after the Navy, and that was the very, very end of 1991. So I was a 20-year-old kid in Seattle right at the beginning of the grunge scene. I had no idea what I had
Best
literally walked into,
part and time
and
to be here, right? Oh my God.
absolutely
So good.
100%. And so, I just got medical discharge from the Navy during the first Gulf War, and it's like, okay, well
Yeah.
now what do I do? And I've told this story a few times to customers, and I think it's really neat how I actually ended up here. I was discharged from the Navy in Chicago, and trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And I literally took the map of the United States, divided it in half, and picked Seattle or Miami, and I threw a dart, and that dart landed in Iowa, which was on the Seattle
Mm.
side. So I got on a Greyhound bus with $500 in my pocket and took a bus to Seattle.
That is like
True story.
rockstar Seattle story. I love it. And you
True
know what,
story.
Greg, being that you do have an engineer background, that was pretty sort of like woo woo, trust the universe. Like that must have been a little bit of a departure from sort of how you normally process. That's kind of cool. You know what I mean? Like I
It
love that you're
was
like, well, I'm just going to trust it. Let's go. That's so cool.
yeah, it was a huge risk.
Right?
Huge risk.
Oh man, they work out eventually one way or another, right? Those risks. So that's so fun.
They
Okay, so you land here in Seattle. And then did you and Keri initially, when you were here, did you get going in the fitness side of the world before starting down this bakery goal? Or, how did you kind of get to the next step together?
well, when we were in this, the bakery originally started in Ohio, then we moved it to
Okay.
Michigan. And when we were in Michigan, we were just outside of Ann Arbor, but we weren't seeing enough people, and we knew that we had something that was
Mm.
so awesome. And we were looking, different locations, and Keri started with Portland, and it's like, I lived in Seattle all those years. There's this thing called Pike
Mhm.
Place Market, and we got invited to participate there, and that was the
Wow.
impetus.
It called you.
Literally
Ugh.
sold a house, shut the business down, moved everything here. You want to talk about a huge risk? Two kids. One was just finishing her senior year in high school. Gwen was a sophomore, and he's like, "Let's just go." So we did. We literally threw caution to the wind and did. Keri had never even stepped foot in the state of
Oh.
Washington before.
And that was
We did this
2017, right?
2020, 22
Oh,
when we
okay,
came back to
got you.
Seattle.
Okay.
It's
Oh,
20,
so
3 years ago.
was 2017 when your bakery was conceived in the Midwest?
Yes.
Okay. Wow. So this is not that long ago, 2020. Wow. Oh, and this little thing called COVID happened that year. How did that all work out?
Mm, that was good for us. We couldn't train anymore, which is why the bakery took over full time.
Okay.
We were doing the cottage food thing. So this all started because Greg bought really delicious protein.
Mm.
And when I started working with him in Ohio, I opened it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this smells like cake batter. And I've gone through my share of different brands of protein. I never liked any of them.
Yeah.
So I took it home. I said, can I have this? And I was baking with the kids
Okay.
because every 5 minutes they're like, I'm hungry, Mom. I want a snack, Mom, because it's carbs, carbs,
Yeah.
carbs. And so I started sneaking it in their food, and they couldn't tell, and they'd get full. And then, of course, I wanted to impress my new boyfriend
Yeah.
at the time. So I started baking stuff for him, and he would take it. He would take it to the studio, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, where did you get that?" And he would talk about it. And if I give, Keri money or you money, will she bake that for me?
Okay.
So it just turned into a side hustle,
Right.
because nobody likes fitness. It's a hard sell.
But really
So
yummy, gooey, warm cookies. That's an easier
yeah.
sell.
So that's kind of how it started. And one morning I just woke up in Michigan. I'm like, what if we open a bakery? And it just came to me. And like, instead of making this a side hustle. So it started in our kitchen, and then to be able to move into more retail, that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to be in retail, get our stuff out to stores. So we had to rent a commercial kitchen to be able to do that. And we were just making peanut butter cups, no cookies. Cookies weren't even on our mind.
Got it.
So we started getting those into little boutique stores around Michigan, and it was so much fun.
Mm.
And we kept applying for Shark Tank. Like, we have something, we want to get on there. And we would get all the way to we got accepted 3 times, but we didn't make it to the final round. And I said, well, really, we just want to be on, Home Shopping Network. Why don't we just apply, for that ourselves? I had this long conversation with this manager there, the food manager, Susan, and we set samples and they loved them. So we got scheduled to go on Home Shopping Network.
Wow. And
February of 2020.
Okay, February of 2020. Wow. Okay. The month before COVID hit the universe. So Home Shopping Network, for our listeners, myself, our wonderful team that creates these podcasts for us, marketing and a brand or a name recognition is gold, right? Everybody currently on this recording, that's not lost on us. So Home Shopping Network, whether you watch it or not, you'd be living under a rock on Jupiter if you have not heard of it. So this is a pretty big, pivotal breakthrough, I can only imagine, for product development and getting your name out there. So I see the YouTube channel and the promotion of it on your website. That's awesome. Like, how did that then start, like, high gearing things, or did it? I mean, did you see sort of like, this is another push for us to get to the next level? What did that look like at that point?
Well, it was exciting at first. We got all our stuff and started cranking out peanut butter cups. So we would be prepared for however many. I think they said they wanted 1,000, 10. I can't even remember the number. It was overwhelming. And we were getting them made and putting them in the freezer, getting them made and putting in the freezer, waiting for the launch. Then COVID. And it got canceled.
Okay. Okay.
So we had hundreds of peanut butter cups sitting in this kitchen. The manager of the kitchen then tells me they're going to shut the building down.
Right.
Because of COVID. It was in a public building in downtown Plymouth. So we had to go there, get all of our stuff, bring it home, and wait and wait and wait. And they finally launched us. They said, okay, you're going to go April 20th. We're like, okay. So we started getting the peanut butter cups out, and then realized they were all ruined. Every single one.
What?
We couldn't sell a one of them. And we were panicking. I said, I can't make them in the house. That's against the law. So we actually ended up finding a brick and mortar in Howell, Michigan, where we could go. It wasn't going to be retail. So we didn't really care about the location as much, because we just thought we're going to be on HSN.
You just
we won't even open our doors.
A production place.
Yes. So we launched on April 20th. It was okay.
Yeah.
It was exciting. And I was glad that orders came in a little bit slower. And the next month we see cancel, orders canceling left and right. We're like, what? This is weird. Because what they did is they would buy on an auto ship. And they said, well, we can't send chocolate in the summer. It will melt. So you're done until October. That's when the cookies came to mind.
Okay. So your ingenuity you were forced, right? Forced to kind of like the layoff in the car world in Detroit. Like, this was yet another milestone, turning point, what felt, I'm certain, like a huge setback of, like, just being creative, putting on that ingenuity hat and that survivor hat and going, okay, the chocolates are not shippable during these months. How do we work around that? So did you, because the whey protein, and just to ensure, I'm going to spell it out since this is an interview, WHEY, that whey protein based cookies. Is that when you guys just started getting really creative about how to launch into the cookie lane?
Oh, yeah. It was very hard. I had to figure out the recipe. my FedEx guy, every time he would stop by, I would give him a cookie and say, "How do you like this one? Is this one good? Did you say too much salt or too, you know?"
Oh my God, I love
Um,
it. You can find your beta testing anywhere in the world if you try hard
that's
enough.
right. I'm like, "Do you mind, eating a cookie?" And of course, Greg, he'll be brutally honest if he doesn't like something I make. And it took us a very, very long time
Wow.
to come up with the recipe. But once we got it,
Yeah.
that's when you can be, creative
Yeah.
with the names and the
Yeah.
toppings and
Yeah. There's that saying, my background prior to real estate, certainly I'm using it right now in this moment, but is like training, facilitation, presenting, speaker. And, my coaches used to always say, you can do all the cute, fun stuff. You can, dance on stage if you want to, but if you don't know your content, right? If you don't own exactly what it is that you're talking about, like none of that matters. And so you are just saying, like, you had to find your secret sauce. Like your cookie is now
yes.
gold. Like that's what you hang everything on. So that did not come easy. Sounds like you had a lot of betas, a lot of UPS and Greg
Yes.
testing.
The neighbor kids, whoever would walk into my kitchen. And but yeah, once we, and you know what, even then we still perfected it after this.
Sure.
But with my marketing background, I called the GMA, what's that,
Oh,
Deals and Steals,
oh, yeah. Hmm.
to apply for that, and they called me right back. I could not believe it. And
Wow.
we ended up on The View during COVID.
I did
So
not know this. I
yes.
didn't find that online. How cool is that?
Yeah, they were helping small businesses, and I sat out in our little trailer. We had a little food trailer and the brick and mortar at the time, and had to make this video. And then Greg and I went into the kitchen and we're like, "Okay, let's see." So it aired, and all of a sudden, I mean, thousands of orders were coming in.
Wow.
And then we're like, "Okay,
50,
let's start baking." And then all of a sudden, I'm like,
15,000 cookies in one
"Yeah,
day.
Holy cow.
15,000
So
in one
being
day.
on The
Yeah.
View definitely set the
Mhm.
stage for your growth, like
it did.
undeniable.
It
Wow.
did."
Now, forgive me if I missed this. When The View aired and the uptick of interest happened, were you already in your Get Baked location in Pike Place Market?
No, we were still in Howell,
No.
Michigan. This was
Oh,
during COVID.
okay. Oh, right. Excuse me. Okay. So this was all still during the 2020 onset of COVID.
Hmm.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. So then fast forward, how did you move through COVID and get everything out to Seattle?
So after, once we launched on the View, the kitchen that we were in, the building was faulty. The
Mm,
roof was leaking. Building owner didn't wasn't very inclined to fix it. It's like we can't bake here. It's
yeah,
raining on
that's
our
a problem.
cookies. So we found what ended up turning into our very first retail location. And like Keri said, we never intended to be retail. We wanted to be big time fast. But once we opened the retail location, we realized how much we missed,
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. Especially during those years.
And just being able to share this with the public in person and just talk about it, it was just so exciting because it was so new at the time. It's like, look how awesome this
Mm,
is. You guys need to experience this. And that's when we realized, okay, maybe this is the way. We don't want the big grocery store trucks pulling up and taking cases of cookies away. This is more
wow.
fun. And that's when we didn't see enough people, and then we would sit outside in our little rocking chairs and wonder how we're going to make this as big as we know that it could be. And the Grand Hotel on Mackinac
Oh, yeah.
Island, Keri reached out to them, and they responded again very quickly. So we got our cookies on the Grand Hotel on Mackinac Island, and we pretended one day to be customers and called them to see, about their cookies. And they were selling them for 50% more than we were
What?
down in Ann Arbor. And
Okay.
that's light bulbs started exploding. That was after, and okay, we need to be somewhere bigger. And that was after we had our worst day in history. We made $37 in a
Wow.
I
day.
think it was a Saturday too, which is really bad.
Yeah.
I'm just going to pause you both super,
Yeah.
super quick, Greg and Keri. For those listening, again, you got to remember I'm a Michigan girl, but for those listening that don't
Yes.
know, Mackinac Island is this stunning. I mean, it's out of a storybook in the upper UP of Michigan. People vacation there, certainly within the region, but people come from all over the world. I mean, the sand is white like the Caribbean, and the water is like Crest gel toothpaste. It's bananas. It's phenomenal. So the fact that you found yourself in, the premier hotel there in that region must have been amazing. But then you're like, whoa, they're seeing something we're not, right? I mean, that's pretty big.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they were selling out at
Wow.
double the price. I'm like, that's when we were like, no, this isn't working.
Okay. Yeah, we got to pivot
So,
here.
yeah.
Okay. So yeah, go on. Greg, I just paused just to make sure, like, I just wanted to give that some scale.
Sure.
So you went from there where you're
And
like, we got to change
right,
this.
right. So we had that little food trailer at the time. So back then, food trucks were all the rage, and they still are. And so we started looking at different locations, and the first city that popped up was Portland because the food truck scene
Yep.
there is huge. Then also again going back to my Seattle roots, it's like wow. So Keri reached out to Pike Place Market, and we got invited, and they wanted us to be their Christmas of 22. So I came up in October just to scout things out. October of 22, I came up here to look at things, and we found a little retail. We found a retail location on the hill climb, and then when we started selling cookies at Pike Place, the first day was December 27th of 2022, and then we were there as a guest vendor for the 6 weeks, and it went well. We've still felt like it could be better, but we did okay enough to pull the trigger and make the jump to move here full time, and found that space on the hill climb. Then I was up here by myself for 100 days, being away from Michigan, getting things set up because Avery was still finishing her senior year in high school. We weren't going to pull her out, so I was up here by myself all that time, putting things together, and went back for her graduation June of 22, and then we made a road trip out here all together to come back to Seattle as a family in the summer
Mm,
of 22.
wow. Okay.
Literally sold the house, shut the business down, again through caution to the wind, took a huge risk, moved halfway across the country, and that's where we are
Isn't
now.
that?
I was so stressed.
Oh my
Actually,
gosh.
it was 2023. That's when she graduated.
Oh,
We
That's right.
our house was completely packed up, and we threw a graduation party anyway for my daughter and her cousin. They came in from Texas. I had a house full of people. I hadn't seen Greg, like you said, in 100 days. It was so good to see him and have him back,
no
and
kidding.
it was a good send off because she had all her friends there. And then 2 days later, moving trucks arrived. So
Oh, I mean, I just got chills thinking about, a lot of our guests in their own way, their own style, say things like, I my life is living proof that you just don't know until you try, or throw your hat over the ring. One of our guests said it so
mhm.
beautifully. If you don't submit, you will not be accepted. And that's just what that's part of the story that you just told us, is who just rings up Pike Place Market and is like, hey, it's Keri over here from Michigan, and I've got these great cookies, let's talk.
Yeah.
I mean, my heart bleeds for Pike. I mean, literally, I would have lived and died in the condo on the hill climb. I just don't think there is a cooler, more romantic, hip, awesome spot. And I'm a pretty well traveled person. I mean, to land at a brick and mortar in Pike Place Market on the hill climb, and now with the renovation and the remodeling of the waterfront, the hill climb is like, I was just there. Well, I was just saw you guys like last week coming in to buy cookies and chit chat. And it's like, whoa, that place is just on fire right now. So that must have just been, I can only imagine. I don't understand. I've never had teenage children and a house to sell and opening up a cookie business and moving across the country. I've never done that. But I can have empathy and compassion for what that must have looked and felt like. But you must have also just been like kind of pinching yourself left and right, right? It must have just been a real mixed bag.
It still is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sure every
And
day.
it was, Greg here trying to send me pictures of spaces and me trying to figure it out on my phone through photos. I don't even remember. I think I found the realtor, Ron,
Yeah.
on like LoopNet or something, and he's like, well, I have this office. I'm like, well, this is what we're doing. He's like, just, come see it.
Yeah.
And so I sent Greg, and he's like, this is going to be awesome because of like you said, the waterfront over, we got in when it was just a mess and under
Yep.
construction, and we weren't getting the crowds right away.
Sure.
So of course I probably lost 20 pounds due to anxiety. But then we went in, and on our first day, we were just going to prep some cookies. A guy knocked on our door and said, it smells so good. Can I just buy one? I know you're not open yet.
Oh, that is, I mean, honestly, again, many of our listeners are local and regional. For one, this passion project of mine is not that old. It's actually almost 1 year young. We're inching up on our anniversary date here, and certainly proud because of the amazing team that's behind me, helping me as the experts they are, growing this wonderful platform. We're definitely getting a following and, getting some subscribers. But the reason I'm even calling that out is that for folks that don't live in the area, which we do have some followers that do not, we have some national followers outside of the area. And I mean, I'm just going to say it because my tenant that lives in my condo in your building lived through hell. I mean, to live through a major World Cities facelift renovation that's been a 5 to 9 year passion project for the city of Seattle, and to open up a brick and mortar cookie, bakery shop, that's some chops. So the fact that you're now getting on the other side of it and seeing all the tourism come back and the locals come out must be such a celebration. That is so cool.
Very much so.
Yeah, you weathered the remodel, as they say. Well, here we are in the episode where we've been educated. This is always, like, to me, the most important way to start out. It's like, well, who are you? Where did you come from? How did you find yourself to this phase of life? And what are some of those lessons? And you've already definitely impressioned all of us with so many really cool takeaways. And that is the point of this show. It's really to me the only reason I was called to jump in and find my sea legs and learn and have my own ups and downs, and having wonderful guests on the show like yourself. So thank you both again. I know you could be doing so many things right in this hour with your personal lives and your business, and it's just a true honor that you're giving us this 45 minutes. So I want to dig into the middle, to kind of, as we start to wind down, let's really get some information out about Get Baked, your cookie company. Like, I can answer this personally when asked, but what is it that makes your cookies unique and different and stand out from the competition? What do you two as the owners have to say about that?
The most obvious is the fact that it's a protein cookie, but you cannot tell at all. And we say this all the time to everybody that comes in. There is truly nothing like this in the world. And we do know that after spending all that time in that industry, everything is just the same. And we did something awesome. And what really it's about, and when you come in, you experience this, you can get a cookie anywhere. This is about way more than a cookie. And just the experience when people come in, the looks on their faces, the laughter because of all of the silly things that we do and the silly names and the stories that we tell. That's what it's more about. Because when you're coming to one of the most iconic cities in the world, it's about an experience, and it's going to create some memories. And how fun do you want those to be? And that's what really makes us different.
I love that. Well said, Greg. What do you have to add to that, Keri?
It's been so awesome to meet so many people. I really didn't expect to have local customers returning because of the experience in Michigan. And while I'm hidden in the back most days, Greg knows everybody's name and hi, how are you? And building, the architect will yell down from his window upstairs and say I'm coming down, or we know Greg and Keri are here. We can smell the cookies in the hallway. So, and honestly, we've already expanded since we've been here, because we were up, in that little office space I was
remember
talking about.
it. I was in your first brick and mortar.
And we got wind. I just said, we need more space. we grew so
Mm.
fast that I couldn't, there was no room to put what we wanted to do. And so I reached out to Ron because, you know, we were under a 3-year lease or 5-year lease. And he's like, well, the construction office, you know, they're wrapping things up and they're going to be leaving. And we turned it down the first time. We thought it was going to be too much work.
Oh.
And I don't know, remember how many months later, I just looked at Greg. I'm like, should we go look at it one more time? And he did all of that renovation.
Oh.
He knocked down walls, tore up floors.
I did.
Greg wearing many hats, right? And I think that's the story we can't tell enough. And I don't even want to say small business because you're growing so fast, but you know, startups, smaller businesses, entrepreneurial, spearheaded businesses that are maybe not part of some big conglomerate or Fortune 500 enterprise. That's what I mean when I say that. It's never meaning any of our businesses are small because they all take tremendous work. But I think that's a really important thing to keep telling and sharing and encouraging people is that there is a lot of DIY. There is a lot of, you got to be an expert at 7 things until you can either afford the other experts or figure out, you know, how to find those skill sets within your own base. And I think that's really important piece of your story. You know, people need to hear that. The other thing is just, and you just elaborated on it because you're really talking about the human touch. I experienced it the very first time, which was your original location. And I walked in and I'm a freak fan of classic hip hop rap music. Some people that are my listeners know this about me and some do not, but it's a true fact. And so when I walked, and I'm from Detroit, Michigan originally. So when I walked into your original brick and mortar and I saw it's called 8 Mile, right? Your cookie?
8 Mile,
Yeah.
yes.
So anybody that is an Eminem fan or a hater, by the way, the rapper, you've at least heard about the Grammy award-winning film called 8 Mile that he was a lead in, and it was about his life in Michigan. So, you know, those little nuances and those high fives and tributes to really Americana music, right? The music within our country and our world, that taps into, I think, also the global reach of Pike Place Market. I mean, right? Any of us, whether you own a business in Pike Place Market or you've lived in Pike Place Market, it is a global center of the world that people come all over to learn and adventure and vacation. So tell us a little bit how some stories from that. Because I know when I first met you, you know, and we're now building a deeper community relationship here, but I was like, I'm from Michigan. I'm from Detroit. I love 8 Mile. I love Eminem. Like, you know, I was probably like freaking out. But tell us about some other stories and some of your other cookie namesakes around music and iconic things.
We have the Sir Twix-a-Lot.
That's a
named
shout
after
out to
Seattle local.
Love it.
We have a shake called, remind me, peanut butter.
Peanut butter and pearl jam.
Love. So cute. I can't stand it.
When we were
The Sleepless in
Sleepless
Seattle.
Classic.
When Harry Met Sally is our pecan pie cookie.
Oh.
In Michigan, we just said chocolate chip, double chocolate chip. I'm like, you know what? That's so boring. I want to be funny. I want people to laugh. And I think that the latest one, because people will come in and they'll say, what's 8 Mile? What's Wise Guy? So
yeah,
I said to Greg one night, I'm like, I'm going to make a carrot cake cookie and I'm just going to call it Up Doc. So when they look at it, they're going to say, what's up, Doc?
Oh, and then, my God, I love it.
And then you hear a pause and then they start. And then they start.
I go, okay, I get it. Well, going back to your marketing background and the fact that you both, again, I know because as a consumer, as a customer of yours, I have felt that whimsy and that lightness and that fun, and not that you're not running a serious business. And obviously behind the scenes, we all have to get shit done, as I say, as brand owners, but you do bring that to the front of the house, and that's so special. And so cool and so unique. And to your point, your cookies are phenomenal, but that's really what's going to keep your community coming back. So thank you for sharing with the audience just now some of the names and some of the fun that you have with marketing. And, here's the thing, to your point, I instantly knew the name because I'm from Michigan, but all people
Mhm.
have to do is ask, and then they're like, "Oh, 8 Mile, okay, yeah, that movie," or
Yeah.
Rapper Eminem or whatever. So that is so, so cool. I love that. How has, I think you kind of answered it because you said like the architect upstairs is like, hold that cookie, I'm coming down. But I do have other friends and community members that run businesses in Pike Place Market. I lived in Pike Place Market for 2 years. I'm a frequent consumer of all things Pike Place Market. I just went to a couple of the concerts this summer. So, how has that community specifically showed up and supported you by buying cookies? But have you felt a kinship or an energy or kind of a brother sisterhood? Talk a little bit about that.
Yes, especially with like the Sunset Supper.
Yes.
The first year we did it was last year, and we had missed the deadline, and they just came down and invited us because they had had our cookies before, and thought it would be a great addition, to that. And so, of course we're going to do it. Of course we're going to participate, and it went so well. And they invited us again to do it this year, but it was canceled because the weather was
Right.
awful. But no, and just like even up at the visitor booth, they got the people that are up there. They tell customers looking for us, yeah, they're down there on the hill climb. So it's,
Mm.
even though we're not technically a direct part of the market itself, it's like the
Yeah.
community. It is such a true thing. It is just, we are just one big community. And even with the aquarium, everybody, so many other employees from there come in. The people from the Argosy
Mm.
cruise talk about us, or their PA with
Oh,
it's it's just neat being such a part of what wouldn't seem like such a close-knit community from somebody looking at it from the outside, but it really is.
oh,
Yeah.
It really,
The
really is.
we had a little trade deal with Cobb's popcorn. They love, so they're
mhm.
and like instead of, the barter system, it
Yeah.
still works.
Yeah.
We'll trade cookies for popcorn occasionally. And we met the fish guys came down and said they'd even do a little video of throwing our cookies to, but
Oh
I
my
didn't know how that was going to work out.
gosh, that's fun. Well,
Yeah.
the thing of it is, and again, I'm just such a lover of that downtown culture. You're amongst some really, I mean, one of my guests just a few episodes ago, Whitney Monge, she, if you don't know her name, you will soon, because she's putting herself on the national stage, and I think soon to be on the world stage. She started as a busker in Pike Place Market. She now lives in
Ah,
Nashville. She's getting booked all over like wildfire. And I'm only sharing other guests because they're what you're doing. They become a part of that fabric. They become known, whether their tenure is years back or they're, making a brand that will live on, and as long as you two want it to, and as big as you want it to get. I think being anchored in the Pike Place Market story is so sweet. I mean, there's just so much romance around that. I just think it's so, so cool. So it's great to hear that you are feeling that kind of connection and warmth, because I've heard that from other guests that have either started businesses in the area or currently have them. Do you have, I'm sure there's endless, but I'm going to ask if you could just each think of one, like a customer story that just really stands out, like just funny or serious, or just something that moved you that somebody said, or is there anything that just comes up, like one of your top favorite kind of customer connection stories?
Probably the most recent one led to the creation of one of our newest cookies, which was kind of in the works already. It was two or three Sundays ago. A family came in from Maine and was reminiscing about whoopie pies, and that was on a Sunday. And 4 days later, the first whoopie pie was made.
Inspiration is everywhere all the time, right? That's the
Um,
lesson.
and it is neat because there are, I mean, again, so many people from all over the world, and I sort of grew up that way. I grew up all over the world. My dad was
Oh,
CIA,
wow.
so just to hear, like when people come in from India, I lived in India. We share stories. It's just neat because you never know who
That's
you're going to
right.
see. I mean, and I say it's our thing, but Keri will say it's my thing. The cookies and the stories.
yes.
Oh,
Uh, People will walk in wearing a T-shirt from somewhere. I'll have a story
I
about that.
love
Like for instance, yesterday somebody came in wearing a Joe Bonamassa T-shirt. Joe Bonamassa was playing at the time. It's like I pointed to her shirt and I said, "Listen, you
Yeah.
never know."
Yeah.
And that is what's so fun because every single day is a different adventure and a different story, and I can't put into words how fun it
Yeah.
is.
Well, I mean, just when I was in last week, thank you for that, Greg. Just my one person being a story. We were in last week. My wife, Chris, was talking to you, Keri, and my wife, Chris, is about ready to do a fundraising benefit for female boxers at the gym in West Seattle that she's a part of community. And Keri was like, "Oh, I was in Michigan and one of the most famous boxers," right? I mean, that's just an
Yes.
example of like just that interconnection and how we all cross over, right? So
Yeah,
cool.
a friend of mine said, you wouldn't, I forget which opportunity I was bragging about on my Facebook page, but he's like, you wouldn't have had that opportunity if you guys don't stop and get to know people. And that's what you
Yeah,
do. You talk and you chat and you ask questions about them.
that's right.
And so, yeah, my favorite customer that came in was almost in tears because he said my oatmeal raisin cookie reminded him of his grandmother.
Oh,
And he was just so sweet. I mean, he was probably in his 70s. He's just like, you brought this memory back.
yeah.
And that was when we were upstairs. And,
Mm.
and some ladies were in yesterday and they're like, I want to talk to the chef. So Greg, and I am I'm humble. I'm like, I just don't like praise very much. And so
Mm.
I went out and they wanted to talk and tell me how good my cookies are. And yeah, I get embarrassed.
Oh, that is so sweet. Well, I mean, here's the thing. This is stating the obvious, but I think also in this digital AI fast tech moving world, which again, we're all using it in some way, or we wouldn't be having, any efficiency on whatever level we're using it. But you are creating an immersive experience. You are tapping into that kind of olfactory, you know, with the smell and the memories and the taking us back to a time. I mean, there is nothing more profound than food, right? And scent and the storytelling that you then do from that. That's so powerful. I mean, it really is. And clearly you're living it. You can see how you're impacting people's lives. So I hope, Keri, that, I can understand being earnest and being humble about what you're creating, or maybe not it being easy to take all those compliments, but you really are creating such a wonderful moment for people. And I'm sure you're both really proud of that.
Thank you so
I
much.
brag about her every
Well,
minute, all the
good.
time.
That's good spousal support too. I love it. I'm going to sign.
And we always get the question though, how do you guys spend all day long together?
Well, that was going to just be one of my questions because, I like my wife a lot and I love her tremendously, but I don't know that we would be the best business partners. And I'm just going to say that. And she would say the same. So, kind of as we're starting to wind down, we'll get to kind of our final two questions here in a minute. But would you touch on that? Because you just set me up for success. I was going to say, when you are running a business together, and especially I call it a P2P, you are in a person to person, face to face business. There is no joke about it. Tell us a little bit of your special sauce, and when it's great days, how does that work? And when it's tough days, how do you move past that? If you don't mind, we're all ears.
Well, there's a little inside joke that we like to say. So Carrie runs the back of the house, I run the front of the house. These are all her recipes, and it's my job basically to get our cookies from our plate
Yeah,
into your
I like
face.
it.
And I work with most of the customers, but when we're just overwhelmed, Carrie of course comes out and helps, and we just work so well together in tandem. And then when we're not busy and when we're doing housekeeping stuff, we have our own set of chores, so we both know that what we're supposed to be doing, and we do that. And then when we get home, we still kind of have our
Yeah.
own things, but of course we spend time together. Like last night we watched the
Yay.
Emmys. It doesn't, of course we love each other, but we also like each
Yeah.
other, and that's very, very important to realize that there's a huge difference, because I will talk football all the time. She doesn't like
I do
that.
not.
So we have similar interests, but we also have similar differences.
Mhm.
So and it's both that makes us work.
Yes. Absolutely. Very well said. That makes sense. Any other words of wisdom to add to that, Keri?
Yeah, he's my rock. I stress out very easily about little things, and he'll just come in. I was like, calm down. We got this. Don't worry about it. So he's really good at reeling me in and getting me to focus again.
Mm.
We do. I said to him the other night, like, we would just spent the entire day together and we still come home and have conversations and talk for another hour or two. Maybe because we started, as business
Yeah.
partners. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I can't imagine doing this without him. It was almost that way. I was gonna be the bakery, he was gonna be the trainer, and not to say it, but thank goodness for COVID,
Mm.
because that brought us together.
Yeah.
And he's so great with the customers, and I like listening to him get excited, like you said, a t-shirt or a comment, or he'll talk. We have a customer, he comes in and talks about boxing all the time, and so they'll talk about the fights coming up. And it's my social time
Yeah.
is there. We run a business, you don't have much
Yeah,
free time. So
right.
yeah, just getting to know people. and
Oh,
and he'll come in, he'll say, I have the best story for you, and I'll listen and laugh. And we
that's
just make it
great.
work. I mean, there's bad days, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong.
Well, of course. Well,
Yeah, of
you
course
you
there is.
know, you just keep taking steps forward towards your combined goals, and
That's
you love
right.
and like each other. It seems like those are what do I know? But it seems like those at this age of life and where I'm at, those are the three essentials for sure. And how fortunate that
Yes.
you have those and many more things that keep you both connected. It's very obvious when you meet you both of you and feel the energy at your company. So well, as we are winding down this episode of Superpower, it has just been an absolute delight. I am in love with Get Baked. I just think it's the best cookie I've ever had. I'm going to keep coming back, keep buying more. I'm going to keep blabbing about it and telling all of my community about it. But before we kind of sign off, there is a final question that I do ask every single guest. And it's literally meant to just be the first thing that comes to your brain. So I do hope that it's just a casual, easy response for you. But if you had to pick one superpower that you know is a gift that you bring to each other, to the customers that come in that you get to touch every day, and certainly this wonderful company that you're building and growing, what would that superpower be for each of you?
I say for me, I'm just silly with
I
everybody.
love it.
And I and the reason I would call that a superpower is because I'm such a natural introvert. I don't know how I do
Mm,
it. I really, really
interesting.
don't.
That's cool.
It just it is, and it's just I'm silly and fun with people, and it just innate. That's not doesn't seem to be my nature, but it
It
just
just works.
works.
It just comes out. I love that so much, Greg. What about you,
Mm.
Keri?
I know you have lots. I know that for sure, and I've just met you. But if you had to pick one, what would that superpower be?
Well, when it comes to the bakery, I'm going to say determination. We talked a lot about our successes in the last 45 minutes, but for every yes, there was probably 40 no's. I was told to get a real job at one point by a family member and give up, and I just didn't. And, it was a struggle, but for every no, I just went out to try and find a yes. I would change my recipes to have other people want to buy them, and trying to please everybody, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, oh, you want this? Okay. And I got so overwhelmed. I said, no, my
Mm,
recipe is good, and I will find it a place, to thrive. And yeah, no after no with the stores. Like, we would
yeah,
get to a store, drop off samples. No, go to the next store.
right.
I have a list of 75 places that we took samples to, and not one accepted us. But then we get the Grand Hotel. so so then you get excited again, and then and then it's back to 50 no's, and then another yes, which was the Meyer stores in Michigan, which is huge, and then a
Huge,
bunch of no's. So
big chain.
yeah, so I tell everybody who comes in to the bakery, I've always wanted to do that. I'm like, it's not too late. I was 50 years old when I changed careers. So, you know
Love
keep
it.
going. Yes.
Yes, 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 yes. Determination. You are serving it up over there at Get Baked in spoonfuls. And really, anybody that tunes into this episode and hears you and Greg and your story, they're going to be so inspired by staying focused and following their dreams. And I love that you shared that because I know there's a lot of historical people, but Julia Childs, you may have heard of her, another famous culinary food person that also baked. She started her enterprise at 50. So
Yeah.
you're in great company, Keri. And I know we're just going to keep seeing really amazing things come out of your shop and your brand and everything that you and Greg are doing.
Well, you two have been an absolute delight. We're going to have you back because there's just so many more things that I was curious about and wanted to ask you, but that's always a good problem, right? It means we were just
Yeah.
chatting away, covering so many good topics. Well, that being said, we certainly are going to put this information on our Instagram page and promote it, but from your voice, from you two, please remind our audience, not only from a physical standpoint where we can find you, but your socials and where we can find you online and all that good stuff. Tell us a little bit about that as we're wrapping up.
Well, you can find us on Instagram. It's Get Baked Seattle Cookie Co. I think we're on TikTok. My kids have to help me with that. And Facebook. And then, yeah, our website is just getbakedseattle.com. You can order cookies online. If you follow us on social media, you'll find like when we do special free shipping offers or BOGO offers. And if you're at Pike Place or the aquarium, we're right across the street from the aquarium, right on that hill climb on the first floor.
The landmark we used to use were just look for the two red umbrellas. Now we have a beautiful mural.
Oh, yeah.
We got our Henry,
Yes.
and that was a week ago, and it's just he did such a fantastic job. I can't stop talking about it. He did such a beautiful thing. So that's an easy thing to look for to find us.
Excellent. Well, I'm just saying one more time to our audience, get out there, get to Pike Place, enjoy the renovations, enjoy companies like Get Baked, and you will love meeting Keri and Greg once you are at their shop. Thank you both so much for being on the show. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's fun.
Thank you, Kristine.
Thanks so much for joining me for this episode. If you enjoyed it, I hope you'll make it easy for others to enjoy it too. You can do that by subscribing, writing a review, and sharing episode links with others. Then you'll be my superhero.